Hello everyone, my name is Olga.
My name is Rene.
We've been living in Vietnam for 3 months now.
And in this video we will share things not to do in Vietnam.
Oh, but I want to do them. Can I? Don't leave your passport as a deposit for anything. So here in Vietnam it's quite a common practice to rent a bike so you can move around easily. But when you do it, you are most likely to be asked a deposit that will be returned to you after you return the bike. But if they ask you to leave your passport, never do it. It is quite a common scam going around that, for example, when you return your bike, they see that there's a scratch, there is something broken, and they actually tell you that you did it and you actually didn't. They already gave you a broken bike, you just didn't notice it. So of course, if you left your passport as a deposit, you will be more or less forced to pay that money to get your passport back. And that sum of money can be quite significant. Another thing with deposits is, for example, with apartments, is also quite a common practice that especially if you're staying for long term, a month or longer, you will be asked to leave some deposit so that when you check out, if everything is okay, then that deposit is returned to you. And of course, when you do it in person, that is okay, that is common practice. But for example, if you're renting an apartment on Facebook Marketplace, there is another common scam where a person pretends that they have this apartment, but it will be gone really quickly. Someone else will rent it out, so please transfer me this amount of deposit money, and then when you come, this apartment will be for you. And the scam is, of course, after you transfer the money, you never see them again. And you might think, oh no, I will never fall for a scam like this. But they do it quite smart because the pictures are really good, better than you saw in other places. Apartment is like apartment of your dreams. And they tell you that, yeah, it is a great apartment and the price is really low because I want to rent it out quickly, but if you don't transfer me the deposit, someone else will take it and it will not be available anymore. So that is how they persuade you to transfer that money. The solution is don't do it. Don't trust those pictures before you come and see it for yourself. Don't forget to take off your shoes when you're entering your room or the building. It is a custom here in Vietnam that when you're inside the house, you should not wear any shoes. Because traditionally people quite often even sit on the floor and even eat all together on the floor. That's why the floor has to be kept clean. And if you're in doubt, should you take off the shoes or should you not, just look at a Vietnamese person in the same room. Are they wearing the shoes or are they not? Because sometimes in modern buildings where all the rooms are rented mostly to foreigners especially, then in the whole building you can wear the shoes, but in your room you should be taking them off. But in a more traditional houses, like for example here, we are living here now, it's basically a homestay. The family lives on the first floor and the rooms above are rented out. And they take off their shoes right at the entrance of the building. So as soon as you step inside, you should be without the shoes. Sometimes even in small local shops, you will see that the person who is working there, they are not wearing shoes inside and their slippers are on the outside. But of course, in big chain shops, like for example, Winmart supermarket here, you should not take off your shoes. Don't drink tap water when you are in Vietnam, and we ourselves don't even use it for cooking. Sometimes people have special filters on their tap, so you can technically drink that water, but when in doubt, I would say it is the safest to buy bottles of water and drink that and use that for cooking. Another thing that you might not pay attention to if you don't know about it is the ice that's used in the drinks. And of course, here in Vietnam, it's hot, it's humid, you do want a cafe latte with ice or any other juice with ice. To be 100% safe, you basically have to ask for no ice. But there is a pro tip, and if you want to be sure that the ice is a good one, it's made from drinking water and not from the tap water, just look at its shape. If it's more round, and especially if there are holes inside, that's the good ice, that's safe to drink. And if it looks more like crushed ice, then that ice is not good, and don't drink that water unless you want to spend a night or two locked in your room having all kinds of fun. Don't say no. So this is a bit of a difficult topic for me to talk about, but I'll try to do my best and explain the way I see it. So here in Asia, Asian culture is more of a high context culture, and Western culture is low context culture. So what that means basically is that in the West we are used to seeing things more or less directly. If we want something, we say yes. If we don't want something, we say no. But here in Southeast Asia, you need to understand things out of context. So the classic example is a foreigner, a Westerner, is asking for directions, how to get here or how to get there, asking it from a local, but the local might not know where exactly it is, or they might not speak English so good, of course, and they are not obligated to speak English. But because here the culture is the saving face culture, the high context culture, they still would point you in some direction, and if you were a local, you would understand that they just don't really know where it is. But with the saving face culture, they would still try to help you as much as they can. They would try to guess where is the thing that you want, and they would try to help you and point you in that direction. But when you walk there, you will still not find what you need. So basically this is where the don't say no comes, because they just cannot tell you no, we don't know. They try to help you. And of course this is not happening 100%, but in quite many cases, and quite many foreigners are complaining about it. But this is the difference in cultures in the Western and Asian culture. So for us, for ourselves, after living here for some time, we started to understand more of the context. So we just started to notice more by the expression of the person's face, if they actually know what you're asking of them, or is it just to save face. And of course both cultures are the way they are, and we cannot just come here and change it. We as foreigners have to adapt to it. So I would say if a local asks you for help and for some reason you cannot help them, still try to make your best and still try to do at least something, and they will understand it. Another example with don't say no that we had ourselves a couple months back in Trang, and we have a video about that beautiful city, check it out. So there, when we were renting an apartment, and we did have some issues here and there, and we would try to message our host that is this possible, or we're having issues with this. And even though she did understand some English, sometimes we would just get either no reply, or the reply would be some emoji. So from that we would understand that this thing just cannot be done. And of course the communication wasn't always difficult, but there were times where we just couldn't understand. Can she help us or can she not? So we had to just assume out of context.
Don't cross the roads in Vietnam. No, of course that's a joke. The traffic here can be really crazy. There are some tips if it feels impossible and dangerous to cross the roads. For big cars you do have to look out, but especially for the bikes, walk into the road with confidence and they will drive around you. Don't stop in the middle of the road, and if you cannot walk very fast, have a child stroller, have a disability, something like that, just put your hand in the air and usually the traffic pays more attention to you, so then it should be a bit easier to cross the roads.
Don't be careless with your personal belongings like money and phone. So unfortunately here in Vietnam pickpocketing is quite common, and I was a victim of it too. Actually last year when we just came to Vietnam, on the very first day in Hanoi, my phone was stolen, and I have a video about it on the channel, check it out, and the link is in the description. But the gist of it was that I was tired and I had a backpack, it was on my back, I wasn't careful about my phone, I put it in my backpack and it was stolen in a crowded place. And I do hear many stories where people would be just walking on the road, talking on the phone, recording a voice message like this, or even just sitting and typing something, and the person on the bike, a thief, will come by, just snatch the phone out of their hands. You might think like that's not gonna happen to me, but believe me, that happens to actual people. And for example with iPhones there is a function of Find My Phone where you can track it, but again every story I hear, and our story was the same, is that we tried to go to the location and we just didn't see anyone, we couldn't find our phone. So the best tip is to keep your belongings in front of you. You put your backpack in front, or you have a small bag on your waist or a crossbody bag, and you always make sure that you can see it and that there is nothing standing too close to you. I remember even coming to Danang for the first time, and the hotel staff told me not to wear a bag on my shoulder, not to have a shoulder bag, because when you walk along the road, the pickpockets, they just drive beside you on a bike, they take your bag right from your shoulder, and basically you never see it again. Don't forget your sleeping mask and earplugs. In Vietnam, the soundproofing is unfortunately not great, and you will hear your neighbors. If they have children, you will hear them watching television loudly or having a party, anything. Or another popular thing in Vietnam is karaoke, and if you're a foreigner, you will be staying in a touristy area and there will be many karaokes, believe me. The law says that now they have to stop at 10 p.m. but when we were just living in Danang a couple of months ago, the karaoke nearby sometimes would go to 10:30, 11 p.m. So if you're going to sleep early, then I would say earplugs is a must. Also, if you're staying in more expensive apartments/hotels, then there will be a good sun-blocking curtains, but in cheaper places, in hostels, in homestays, the curtains might not block out the sun. So for that, I would definitely recommend a sleeping mask, because the sun rises at around 5 a.m. So if you don't want to wake up that early, get your sleeping mask. Don't come to Vietnam during the wrong season. So depending what you're expecting from your holiday, you might come in the wrong season for that. For example, if you want a beach holiday, I would say that during autumn and winter you will not be able to swim in Danang on Trang. The waves there are quite strong, and quite often in autumn and in winter we saw the red flags on the beach. So the swimming wasn't allowed at all. And the season starts approximately in April and goes all the way till the end of August. Outside those months, you might be able to surf, but you won't be able to enjoy beach time. Don't forget warm clothes and an umbrella. So you might be expecting that Vietnam is a tropical country, it's hot everywhere here all year around, but you might be surprised there is even snowing in Vietnam. Vietnam is quite a long country, so all the way in the north, in Hanoi and to the north, in the winter there will be snowing, and in the south it will be quite pleasant still, and there will be no snowing at all. So for example, if you plan to visit cities like Hanoi or very beautiful and popular city Dalat, I would definitely recommend having jeans and some warm sweater and also good shoes, because the temperature there can drop way below 20 degrees, way below even 15 degrees. But at the same time, there is a rain season, typhoon season in Vietnam. For example, when we came here in October to Danang, it was raining almost half the time, and even now in May it is supposed to be already dry season, but we are in Hoi An and it is pouring rain at around 6 p.m. almost every single day. So the takeaway here is the weather in Vietnam is unpredictable. Have some warm clothes, have some rain jacket or an umbrella, or you will be of course able to find it and buy it here. But don't underestimate the weather, and always check it before you come. Don't be afraid to travel to Vietnam, because every time I meet a subscriber here in Vietnam, they tell me that this video actually inspired them to come here to Danang, and I do ask them whether they liked it here or not, and the answer is always yes. So make sure to check out that video, because there we shared top 5 must-see attractions that you absolutely shouldn't miss.